Hi, everybody. So, I'm going to talk about how I quit being a personal dumpster to people, especially people who are used to dumping on me. And it could be any type of dumping, emotional, um, verbal harassment can be still dumping on somebody, ranting, venting, complaining, micro complaining, and doing that on a regular, that's still dumping. So, this is how I actually stop letting people emotionally dump on me. That was the biggest thing in my life. Even though people were still passively dumping on me through pretending that they're just talking about their day, but everything's negative. um, I've also had people dumping on me in a way where it's like they're just doing immature stuff, yet I can feel their toxic energy is being dumped on me through getting a reaction out of me and then getting fed my energy and I have their energy. Like we're switching places in the conversation. Okay, I'm trying to slow things down from now on when I talk in videos. So forgive me if I'm having these weird pauses. I'm just trying to make sure I talk slower from now on. Okay, so one thing I did was I started to note the time I would feel drained and make bad decisions. Then I would say, well, who was I talking to or what was I doing? Sometimes you can be a personal dumpster to an app, to people online. Maybe there's a site you go to all the time, and in the comments, everyone's dumping, and you are a powerful receiver. So you're just receiving everybody's emotional energy. Sometimes you signed up to be somebody's personal dumpster and you didn't even know that you were. People do this by mistake when they're talking to the same people in emails and on these apps in the comments. And before they know it, they're like, why am I drained? But it's this person who you probably can't even see emailing you and talking to you in the comments, and there's emotional dumping going on disguised as just sharing their day. I know people say, well, where is the line? Like, is there a line there? Yes, there's a thin line there. There's a thin line between just sharing your day and dumping on someone. Once it get into like one problem after another you're talking about, or a long-winded discussion about a problem and you're not asking for solutions, it can get right into the energy of dumping on someone. So I'm going to do another video talking about signs that someone is emotionally dumping or dumping on you in some way. Meaning basically they're dumping a low vibe version of one of their chakra energy, a low vibe version of one of their chakra energy on you. You know, it's not always emotional dump. Some people actually dump their stagnant influencing type of energy on you, which is still dumping. Like I know people that will try to influence me to do stagnant, non-productive things. And they'll give all these reasons and all this negative conversation that will keep me stagnant with them, that will give some sort of illogical, manipulative reason why we need to just be stagnant all the time. And through that, they'll just suck on my energy, and then I'll receive their emotions. Whatever they're going through, they'll still dump on me. So it's like a double dump. It is the negative influence of being stagnant all the time with them. I know people say, how is that dumping? Because when someone is stagnant all the time and they don't really have much movement, they are going through something internally. And through just emotional tones that they're using can be a form of dumping on you. So I know someone in my life that always sounds very sad, even though there's nothing sad to talk about. So they're still kind of like dumping on me emotionally without words saying they are. All right, so when I started looking at my day, I started realizing that whenever I'm low at this time or making bad decisions, I was talking to this person an hour before, or I was talking about this in the comments online, or I met with a neighbor. So I started to see how I had somehow created a pattern of all these different sources dumping on me. It could be like, oh, my neighbor, someone I was talking to on the phone, someone in the comments, someone in my email. And it started to build up. And then within an hour after that, I would notice that I'm unhealthy eating, I'm craving. So a reverse way to know whether someone's dumping on you is, are you hardcore craving even though your fat intake is low, even though your sugar is low, but yet you're like craving? I think emotional dumping does something to the energy levels where even if your energy is high, even if you're happy, you can't feel it completely. So I believe that emotional dumping on people turns some people into being only surface happy, not deep happiness. So then their body starts to crave something that would make them feel happy, would give them the happy hormone, which would be ice cream, okay? Something like that. So I noticed I was suddenly craving ice cream. Yogurt wasn't doing it for me. I wanted candy. I was carrying candy around with me. So instead of looking at it like, why am I suddenly doing all this, all these cravings, I started looking at it like, what was I doing, long before this? Okay. Some people say do it this way. They say, well, why did I just crave? And they ate the food already. They're already in a cycle of craving. And they say, why did I just crave? Me, I say, how did I get to feel this way that caused the craving? So I'm trying to get into the research of what made me feel what I felt before I started craving. Because everybody feels something before they crave, like whether it's tired, lonely, wanting to feel good, wanting to be happy. And so I asked myself, why am I feeling this way? Why don't I have the feeling that I need to not crave? Why am I feeling what I'm feeling that made me crave, or made me spend too much money, or made me do something messy? What caused this feeling that came before I did all that stuff? So that I realized it was people. It was people, but I had to go deeper. What were we talking about? And I realized that the two things that everyone was talking about was health problems and losing family members. And sometimes being mistreated, like their mental health under attack. And I realized that those were sensitive areas in my own life. So by me taking on their emotional baggage, my own baggage got heavier. Even though my baggage was getting pretty light because I was doing the internal work, it started getting heavier when other people started dumping on me in on the same themes and same category that I was having problems in, a little bit still. I realized that when you start working on an area of your life, you will attract people who don't know how to do it and having major problems in that area. But we have to keep in mind that not everybody is looking for a solution. They think the solution is to just release the emotion, and it's not. there has to be something that you also give to the world. Like I realized that like people who emotionally dump enough, a lot, emotionally dump a lot, they actually don't give much. Now I know y'all think, oh, well, I give much. The people who are happiest, as they say, is giving more. Yeah. Um, and I'm talking about beyond the familiar. You'll find out that when you give more beyond the familiar, that any emotional troubles you're having, they start to go away. It's really hard to get emotionally grounded when your familiar place has toxicity to it that's causing the emotional baggage. So, really, a lot of people need to remove themselves from wherever this causing them the emotional baggage. A lot of people don't, but they want to quiet the complaints inside themselves, so they dump some of the complaints on us, on some people who are removing themselves from toxicity rather than dumping all the time. So, another way that I um, started to recognize people were emotionally dumping on me is I was up at night thinking about their problems all the time. I was like in full mission to get them solutions, even though they didn't ask. I noticed that I started matching their emotional low vibe energy. Like how I was in the mornings is how I'm never like in the morning. Instead of waking up as my happy go lucky self and optimistic, I'm waking up with all this negative criticism or negative mindset. And I know that's not my true nature. That's not my true personality. I'm a person that looks on the bright side. I always think there's a way through. It always thinks there's a solution rather than just complaining all the time. But suddenly I'm like Mrs. Complainer. As soon as I wake up, I said, no, someone help me get this way. So I started saying, who do I know complains a lot? Because this isn't like me. And I figured it out, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna have to like cut back on hearing them complain in the morning hours because it's got me doing it. So out of character, out of your, when you're not quite in your usual personality way of being, you may want to consider that someone's been emotional dumping on you. Somehow you're getting their character traits through that spiritual connection as they are emotional dumping on you. You are becoming something of their metaphysical world, so it's manifesting in your behavior and your actions. Even when they're not around and not dumping on you, you're like them. Okay, so another way I figured out this someone was emotional dumping on me is when I kept trying to take care of myself, and it was like World War II. It was like I was always saying, oh, I'm tired. Oh, this is too much. This is going to take too long. All of a sudden, 15 minutes in the shower would feel like an hour. You can actually get emotional baggage burnout, where people can dump on you so much that you're too gutted to even get any emotional fulfillment, even thinking of self-care for 10 minutes. Where once 10 minutes of self-care in your mind would be like, now it's like, this is work. You just feel like it's work. So, especially if certain types of self-care you really enjoy for yourself, doing for yourself, and then suddenly you don't like them. So what has happened is most likely during the times when you're supposed to be, when you would normally do that self-care you like to do for yourself. That person was actually dumping on you. So that time of day has been replaced with a part of a reality of them dumping on you. So even though you still have the mind that you want to do this nice self-care for yourself, the feeling of them dumping on you is still there. So basically, the emotional flow in your body is not matching what you're thinking. It's not connected. It's not synchronized. So basically, you're like kind of passive aggressive with taking care of yourself. It's bittersweet. The bitterness and the dryness is from the emotional dumping that someone did to you until you got burnt out. And the sweetness is the little thought that you have of taking care of yourself. So I started making it a priority to do a little bit of self-care for myself every other hour of the day. This is going to get me to clear out any random connection time I had with the people in which they emotionally dumped on me. So if I can't remember all the times a day, I'm hitting each time a day 3 times at least with self-love and self-care, solitude self-care. I'm doing it, I'm microdosing myself this. What this does is it gets rid of any spiritual or emotional connection I have with that memory of them emotional dumping on me. Even if the memory is like way down in my subconsciousness, my connection with it, attachment to it, it fades away, it weakens. So then the self-care little practice I did starts to dominate a connection with my emotions. So basically, at some point, my subconsciousness and my unsubconsciousness will be in agreement that it wants me to do self-care at that time rather than dwell on any emotional dumping that somebody did on me. So basically that's not the dominant connection. The emotional dumping is not the dominant connection. Okay. Spiritual connection. See, things that we do frequently becomes echoes in our unsubconsciousness. So we have to get those echoes to be weak and not so chimey in our unsubconsciousness. And that includes all the random moments we had where we answered the phone and someone dumped on us, neighbors or family members, coworkers dumping on us, online apps. So we cut back. Now, what'll happen is you'll cut back. Let me finish. What'll happen is you'll cut back even being present at those times because you have created a new spiritual burning desire and routine of I will take care of myself at this time rather than receive this dumping that's unhealthy. Now, another sign that told me that I was being emotionally dumped on is when it took a lot of the healthy stuff, a lot of time with the healthy activities to make me feel good, to make me get like endorphins and good dopamine. It took a lot of good stuff, like a lot of writing, whole lot of writing, when normally I could write one paragraph and get, that nice dopamine and be happy. It took for me to write 2-3 hours a day. For some reason, my dopamine receptors or whatever they're called got jacked up. So I wasn't getting full dopamine hits from writing just for 30 minutes. I had to write at least an hour a day. This told me that somebody is dumping so much on me that, dumping too much toxicity on me that my smallest amount of dopamine was not even nourishing anymore. So I said, I'm going to have to really spend more time writing, singing, doing watercolor, decluttering. I have to spend more time doing that stuff until I don't need to do it so much. And doing it a little bit is enough. So I can clear out their emotional energy. I had to come at it at all angles once I realized that my most favorite things to do was not even satisfying and nourishing anymore. I realized that I had received some heavy emotional dumping for quite some time. So I had to actually do a unhealthy dopamine detox. And I consider always being an ear for people to dump on, and for them to say thank you after they dumped on you. Thank you for listening. You know how they love to say that. I think that to be stale, unhealthy dopamine. It's not, okay? I think the only real nourishing dopamine is actually quickly going to a solution for that person, and the person wants the solution. So I decided that I would have to come at this all angles if I was going to get my favorite, best dopamine, which is from my artistic abilities and my spiritual life. So I had to get very non-modern. I had to actually sit for long periods of time in silence, because we know that something that you don't focus on eventually will get tired of you not focusing on it, and it'll go away. It'll at least stay at a respectable distance. Like Jim Rohn say, keeping death at a respectable distance. Unhealthy emotional baggage at some point can feel like you're on your way to hell. Like you're going to Hades. The death angel is taking you there or something. You will start to feel like that when the emotional baggage is just too much. And then you'll find out that a lot of things you would normally do that would clear out the emotional baggage, it's not working. So before it gets that bad, where you have to sit it out, you have to do a lot of nothing and just sit outside for long periods of time, where that's the only thing that will get you through getting rid of their emotional baggage completely. I recommend to start doing things that's the healthy way of getting dopamine when you just start to feel like the person is draining you. If you say, that was draining, and this person has dumped on me 3 times, at that point, distance yourself. That's what I realized, and go to some healthy ways of getting dopamine and endorphins and stuff. Another way I figured out that I had something emotionally dumping on me was when the sun didn't work for me. I am a sun baby. Like normally 5 minutes of sun is like refreshing for me. But it was like, why all of a sudden I need like 30, 40, 50 minutes of sun? This means that my spirits were being brought down quite often. And even though I couldn't think of ways I was bringing my own spirit down, something was bringing it down. And when you receive people's emotional baggage all the time, you'll notice that you're on it like a upsy downsy with your spirit. Like it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. It's like somehow you're on this roller coaster with this person. You don't even know when their ups are, because they don't really call you when they're up, when their spirit's up. But they're learning when your spirit's up, because they're calling you and tuning into your energy when your spirit's up. One thing I noticed is people who like to emotionally dump on you, they don't do it right away. It's like they're tuning into your energy to see if your spirits is up. Then they're like, oh, because your spirit is up, you could take this trash emotion. And you're like, no, maybe I want to savor my spirit being up. So what I started doing is having a short amount of time that I even let anyone emotionally dump on me. Once it get into like one thing after another in a minute, I cut the conversation short. I say I gotta go. Because I would rather for my spirit to be a little down and then I gotta get it up higher back to it was before I spoke to that dumper, the dumper person. I'd rather for it to be a little low than like so low. Now and I'm like 3 hours behind on my day because I'm doing all this work to bring my spirit right back up, all the way up. So I made it my goal to learn people's pattern, the people that I know. How long do this person love to emotionally dump? Now, one thing I found out that when people do not get fully nourished and fed and cleared out through emotionally dumping on you, they will often switch to bragging. And bragging is a passive aggressive way to extract emotional love from you that they feel like they didn't get through the emotional dumping. So basically, it could be plan B for some people where they're like, oh, I'll just switch to bragging. So what I've decided was when someone talks to me, they only get to choose one or the other and at a short amount of time. So they either can express what they're going through briefly, whether it's some struggle, very briefly, they can speak of it to me, or they can brag a little to me. But they can't do both a lot, and one cannot be done a lot in a 24-hour period. This way, I'm not fully managing their emotions and what emotions they left me with and the emotions that I showed up with. I'm not doing all that. I'm not 3 different counselors and therapists in the room for myself, even though I only had one originally before I spoke to that person. Y'all, I'm cutting up in this video. All right, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to let me know. If you'd like to stay connected with me, check the comment section, check the community news. I hope y'all will stay on my Pretty Poetic Empress channel. I recently realized I had a whole group of people emotionally dumping on me. And I'm not going to say everything that they did to dump on me, because that would be like me dumping on you. Because it would be a lot of dump for me to talk about. It's a lot of dumping that I experienced this year. And if I talked all about it in this video, some of y'all will start to feel like I'm dumping on y'all. But I had a neighbor actually dump on me every single week that they saw me. As soon as they saw my face, it was like blah, 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 blah. All their problems. I didn't even notice until I came over to her house all bright and sunny and, feeling good. And they did it. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is the time that I know I definitely feel really good about life, really positive. And now I just walked away negative. I realized that they were one of the people that were playing with my spirit, ups and downs. They treat my spirit like a yo-yo. That's what emotional dumping cyclists do. Sometimes they give you a little morsel of like interested in you, but it's just so you don't go nowhere, so they can just dump on you again and treat your own emotions and your head like a yo-yo. Your head is looking to God, looking to the universe, and then as soon as they show up, your head is down. And it gets to be really toxic. And as a matter of fact, it will train you to be in that energy in other areas of your life. You'll notice that you're negative and positive in rotation in other areas of your life that you normally would not be. Some of you got a love-hate relationship with yourself and your life, and you're like, I didn't even feel this way. But someone taught you to be in that energy, and it's normally the professional emotional dumpers who have been able to get away with it throughout their entire life. And many people cater to their emotional dumping and cater to them. Normally, people who won't stop emotional dumping on you is people that are surviving through emotional dumping. They have people giving them stuff. They are an emotional dumper opportunist, but they'll never admit it. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. I'll see y'all later. If y'all like this video, feel free to let me know. Please feel free to send me any birthday presents. I had a birthday this summer, and you feel free to leave me any birthday presents through my Cash App at # Coach V Hunter, or through my PayPal. Please check the community resources for ways you can send birthday gifts. I also accept birthday gifts through my Amazon gift card section, where you can send me an Amazon gift card, and I will use that. All the stuff I get on this channel is helping me to be able to travel, take time to write, do these videos, share my life, and really be able to show up for y'all without having to worry about working extra hours and doing other stuff when I could be talking to y'all. But this channel is going to have a lot lifestyle stuff and all of that. I will have every now and then a little journal diary entry that will talk about something that I'm working on right now. And what I am working on right now is stopping people from dumping on me. I have been like the personal dumpster of so many people, random people, people who see me all the time in stores, neighbors, family members, friends. I am done with it. You know, at some point you will look in the mirror and you will see that people are emotionally dumping on you, because it will look like the water, the hydration is being sucked out of you. You'll be like, why don't I look hydrated? It's hard to stay hydrated when someone is dumping garbage and trash in your emotional, metaphysical energy all the time. You'll start to look sick even when you're not sick. You won't look fresh even after you shower. Remember that everything that affects you spiritually, it affects you physically. So if you want to look younger and you want to stay more beautiful and you want to stay more at peace, so you stay younger, younger looking, younger feeling, younger acting, you have got to put a time limit every day on how long someone's going to dump on you, dump their emotions on you. And that includes projection. Projection can be someone trying to make you think something about yourself that's about them, and then you kind of start emotionally dumping on yourself. So you're like saying all this negative stuff about yourself. And it's not even true. It's just someone trick you to see something that's not there, that's actually a vision of themselves, of them. I had someone doing that to me, projecting on me, and then I started to doubt my reality, and then I started saying negative stuff about myself, and then I started actually emotionally dumping on myself, and it just got very toxic, y'all. So the projectors also, stay away from those people. As a matter of fact, soon as you know that someone is saying something, saying that you're toxic in some way, when it's they're toxic, you should probably get away, cleanse the air, cleanse your mind, put your focus on something else completely opposite. That way you do not receive that false vision down in your subconsciousness, because then you're going to start being emotionally toxic to yourself. So we'll talk about that in another video, but I am on a emotional dumpster vacation. You know how people do solid food vacations? I'm doing emotional dumpster vacation. This is going to help people to grow up, help people to realize that, hey, if they're dumping on you all the time, if they're dumping on me all the time, then that means we got to fend for ourselves. They're not letting us dump on them. They're not letting us dump on them all the time. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be calling us. So um, we got to be like, okay, if I got to fend for myself sometime emotionally, so do they, or get somebody else to dump on. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody, because some people are not that smart to realize that their emotional struggles and bad character and bad decision making is a result that they are letting someone emotionally dump on them too much. This is why we have got to get us some friends that know how to just speak positive about life and just enjoy the moment and live in nature and listen more to nature and have some quiet, instead of always having to talk about everything that's on their mind that's toxic. I think we're in a world where people have got to start either finding a way, an artistic way, to express their toxic emotions and low vibrational emotions, or keep it to themselves or go to a counselor. I think because so many people are creatively blocked, they are having a very hard time with not being emotionally toxic in conversations. Um, People say, I can't afford a therapist. If you can afford art, then you can afford a therapist, because art is therapy and it's actually free to do. And art supplies can get really cheap if you're not thinking more expensive art, better art. That's not the way it works. You can write an exceptional poem with a cheap pen, using a cheap pen. So it's now time for a lot of people to just really start turning to the creative world to release their emotional struggle energy. All right, bye everybody. Thanks for listening. If you want to donate, you can donate to my Cash App at @Coach V Hunter or at my PayPal. Bye everybody.